I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country.
Yeah. So I went to the border at Eagle Pass and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real.
Salam alaikum. Good morning, everyone.
I believe there's a bigger issue here that the ethno-nationalists haven't noticed yet, but are now starting to slowly realize that they are going to have to confront. And that is the fact that the immigrants coming in are not assimilating into Western British culture. One of the topics covered in this Trump and Elon Musk discussion was immigration. For the last few months, and especially more recently, I'm sure you guys know, immigration has been the main topic in politics in the West, especially in Britain and America. And for good reason. The immigration issue has led to riots all over UK after the murder of 3 young girls. God rest their souls. In American politics, Trump has consistently blamed the left for allowing illegal immigration to get to a point where millions are crossing over unchecked, and a lot of them are dangerous criminals.
There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13, I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world, they're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month.
Elon Musk claimed he's seen the reality on the ground. He saw the open borders himself.
And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
There's no question that immigration has been increasing in European countries and America over the years, and the ethno-nationalists, the native people who Keir Starmer called far-right thugs, are concerned. Long-term migration figures in the United Kingdom from 1964 to 2023, as you can see, guys, it has been increasing, all right? Whether people agree that the increase in immigration is as bad as they say it is neither here nor there. They think it is.
Most of the white people are very frustrated, and they're finding an enemy amongst themselves to take it out on. I think that the white people on these streets have a lot more in common with the brown people on these streets than they do with the politicians, because that's the problem we have here. Keir did not just only say they're going to face the full force of the law. He told everybody with a point of view, everybody who's concerned about the safety of their children, that they are extremists. And that is the most aggravating language you can possibly choose when people finally have had enough of not feeling safe on their own streets any longer. We have people who cannot afford to pay their bills, watching migrants arrive, who are now being held up in hotels at the taxpayers' expense for indefinite periods of time. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Nobody voted for it. Nobody wants it. And everybody's struggling to pay their bills. Energy prices are through the roof. Inflation is through the roof. Now they no longer feel safe on their streets. They don't want to put their daughters outside to play. The police won't protect them. The police won't turn up for most crimes unless it's something you say bad on Facebook. And when they look for a political solution, they're ignored. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? This is nothing but a leadership failure. There's not a country in the world where leadership could fail this spectacularly and see any
Andrew,
different result.
All right.
In my opinion, personally speaking, the concern is not so much about immigration per se. I don't think the English people are necessarily against immigration. Is illegal immigration and the number of immigrants the government is allowing in an issue? Yes. I think what the British public is more worried about is how compatible the ideologies of the immigrants coming into Britain are with Britain, and two-tier policing. As valid as all these concerns are, and as citizens, especially as natives, they certainly have the right to have them, I believe there's a bigger issue here that the ethno-nationalists haven't noticed yet, but are now starting to slowly realize that they are going to have to confront. And that is the fact that the immigrants coming in are not assimilating into Western British culture. Instead, they are coming in and they are being encouraged to impose their religion, their culture and way of life on the British people.
Whitechapel in East London. A hardline vigilante group is trying to impose Sharia law on unsuspecting members of the public.
Muslim area, okay? Alcohol, bad. This is a Muslim area.
It's not just drinkers being targeted.
Yeah, you're gay, mate. Get out of here, mate. Get out of here.
And women wearing skirts above the knee are also being harassed.
Cannot dress like that in Muslim area.
Only a handful of men are involved in the self-styled patrols. 5 have been arrested on suspicion of harassment, but we joined others who haven't been picked up by the police.
As a Christian, I don't agree with this degeneracy either, but unfortunately this country is no longer Christian, it's secular, and as a result it's operating under secular ideologies, and secular ideologies are degenerate, are evil, and this is the reason why the country is the way it is right now. I believe it's this lack of integration and up to a certain extent the rising number of immigrants coming into the country that is ultimately driving the ethno-English people and ethno-Europeans and Americans to be concerned and riot. Are there racists among these rioters? Absolutely, I have no doubts. The question now is, who is to blame? Ask yourself this: why would an immigrant come to a foreign country and feel like they don't need to assimilate? Let me give you guys an example. A third of British Muslims want Sharia law, knowing that Sharia law goes against the laws of the country. As you guys can see, terrifying state of Britain, almost third of country's Muslims want Sharia law implemented by 2044. The new poll has found that almost a third of British Muslims think it would be desirable to implement Sharia law within the next 2 decades. Or does it? Or does the law of the country facilitate for the legal implementation of Sharia law? I think the latter.
And it is also an indication. It is an indication of the failure of some of the parts of the education system in the UK. If the teacher, someone who is entrusted, someone who is expected to promote British values, someone who is expected to promote respect and tolerance, if the teacher himself does such kind of act, then this is not good for the society. And it indicates the failure and the weakness within the system.
Ben, that was Sheikh Zakiullah Salim. He's at the Green Lane Mosque in Birmingham. He's saying that this is that what the teacher did is against British values. I would suggest that what he's saying is against British values, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So I mean, there are a number of things to unpick here, I think, Kevin. The first is the point you absolutely rightly made, which is in this country, and the heart of freedom and the heart of our democracy is the right of free speech. And there's no way that teacher could be accused of spreading hatred or inciting violence or forget about take that back about spreading hatred. There's no way that teacher could be accused of inciting violence against a minority Muslim group by discussing the Charlie Hebdo or showing the Charlie Hebdo cartoons. That is an educational matter for the teacher to make a decision on. And it was very topical, I think, back in 2020, was it 2015 that the Charlie Hebdo shootings took place?
Something like that,
and, yeah, 2015. And, you know, it's absolutely right that people should be taught what happened in Paris and the result of those cartoons. And for both sides of the debate, you know, so that there's open discussion about it. And there's no way this particular teacher could be found wanting of the law by showing these cartoons.
I'm just wondering, Ben. I'm wondering, Ben, what it is that the Imam thinks that this teacher should be brought to book about. You know, the authorities must take legal action. About what? What is he supposed to have done? If they want to say blasphemed, I'm sorry, but we got rid of our blasphemy laws. This isn't the medieval ages anymore. So what else do they think that he could be have legal action launched against him about?
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the really pertinent point, that the imam can take offence by what is actually a perfectly valid expression of British values, the right to discuss anything for that matter. What he's seeking to do is to impose Islamic law on the United Kingdom, because under Islamic law it is blasphemous to show an image of
Sharia law,
under Sharia.
Like I said before, the next obvious question now is who is to blame? Is it the Muslim, the Hindu, the Sikh who wants their religion, culture fully represented, or is it Britain, the UK? I would have loved to do a poll on this question. Do you know what the answer is? The answer is Britain, the UK, the Western secular world. That's who's to blame. Why do I say this? I say this because the UK, the secular country who has turned away from its Christian heritage and has embraced secular ideologies like feminism, Marxism, secular humanism, wokeism, etc., has implemented policies like diversity, inclusion, and equity. In my opinion, this is a policy that undermines the preservation of the values of a nation. If Britain was a Christian country, these policies wouldn't exist. But since Britain is a secular liberal country, the rules change. According to the definition, diversity, inclusion, equity encompasses people of different ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, disabilities, genders, religions, cultures, and sexual orientations. Genders and sexual orientations were added later, and I bet more degeneracy will be added as time goes on. Trust me, mark my words. What does this mean? This means that the British government is saying that they don't recognize ethno-nationalism, English religious heritage, and English culture. They are saying that there isn't a dominant culture in Britain. They are saying that all foreign cultures are equal to secular English cultures. They are saying that English identity doesn't exist. This is why they have come up with policies like diversity, inclusion, and equity, which literally allows immigrants to come into Britain and impose their religion, their culture, their way of life on British soil. And the government is okay with it, with no regards for how it will affect the English people. This is why the chief of the UK police can greet the English nation with Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the leaders and elders that have afforded me this opportunity to speak to you personally.
Let me explain another way. Since the separation of church and state in the 17th century, the Western governments have been working diligently to destroy Christianity in the West, and no one can deny that they did a good job of it. Christianity was part of the English identity. Since the systematic destruction of Christianity in the West, they are now trying to destroy what's left of what connects the English people to it, which is nationalism. Why? Because nationalism entails history and heritage. And if the British people through nationalism ever are reminded of their Christian heritage, it will literally be the end for the secular government in Britain. The British people and the European Western people are being stripped off of their identity as a people, and the nation's identity is made up of religion, race, and country. Over the decades, they managed to destroy religion. Now it's nationalism's turn. Why? I hear you asking. This is all part of the New World agenda, and the main enemy of this agenda is Christianity. They want the world to worship their ideology, and the Christian ideology is the only true religion that stands in their way. Hence why Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the world. All the other religions align for the most part with their ideology. That is why they are okay with allowing them in. What's the solution? The English people need to go back to its Christian heritage, say no to secularist ideologies that have put them in this predicament, and become Christians again. I bet if the majority of the country was practicing Christians, the liberal, Labour and conservative Tory parties would cease to exist. The immigrants coming in wouldn't be able to impose their religious beliefs. Why? Because Christianity arms us with an objective moral standard that cannot be altered or changed. This idea of diversity, inclusion and equity wouldn't exist. People of different ideologies would either have to convert and assimilate into the Christian ideology, or their ideology wouldn't be able to grow. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Peace.